Let's go to the safari zoo, BJ.
Oh, are we gonna get on the train?
Okay, come on, let's go, let's go. Yay.
Where do you guys want
Here,
to sit?
right here.
I do need you to stay safe during this time, so please do remain seated in case I have to bring the vehicle to a full and complete stop. I don't want to see you go flying. Don't play with your doors, don't lean up against your doors, they won't support you. And throw any of your stuff overboard, I cannot pick up lost items. Try to keep your voices to a respectful volume for those around you. And in case of medical emergency, press one of the yellow safety strips up on the ceiling. It'll buzz me up in the cab so I know to call the medics out for you.
Oh,
Which is, I believe, the end of the safety lecture, so good news there. Ditch the boring stuff and start talking about animals instead. A beautiful view of our left-hand shoulders. There's rhinos, antelope in the distance, giraffes, all living together in one of the big field habitats.
come here
inside
so you
our
can see
park.
the animals.
Now, we should have longer to stop and talk about all
No,
those
just stay
beautiful
here.
animals
Okay.
at various points later on in the tour. So don't worry about them too much for right now. Just consider that like a preview. We're going to dig in instead with our feathered friends off to the right-hand side of the vehicle. You'll notice out in the pond there's all those Canada geese I was telling you about, along with a lot of other local birds, American white pelicans, gulls, coots, cormorants, ibis.
See the big birds?
And in the foreground there are some African birds with their lovely tuxedos on, black and white, and a big yellow plume of feathers on their heads with crowned crane. Species of insectivore that prefers mosquitoes and mosquito larvae. So thank you to the crowned cranes, doing good work. You may wonder about the diet of our next bird, coming up on your right-hand side.
No shouting.
And these flamingos, you'll notice, are not as pink as the ones we typically see on TV.
See the flamingos?
Because the greater flamingos come on the mainland coast of Africa, where they have to worry about numerous large and dangerous predators. Paler color is an evolutionary advantage and helps them camouflage better in their marshland habitats. And the flamingos you see on TV that are bright pink, they tend to live in places like small Caribbean islands, where predators are extremely rare. And because they don't have to worry quite as much about getting eaten, the flamingos there evolved instead to be brightly colored to show off to one another during elaborate courtship rituals. And we will be seeing throughout the course of our tour today the way in which geography impacts the lives of these animals. Not just in terms of natural selection, but also their day-to-day behaviors. Of course, the threats they face, poaching, war, climate change, humans. Those threats are the reason why our park exists. See on the left, a beautiful home away from home. Down the valley floor, interconnected space, wide open sight lines, the ability to gather together into big herds. These are things that animals from grasslands and deserts especially like, which is very difficult to provide at a more traditional zoo. Things here at the park feel more home and comfortable. It's so comfortable, in fact, as you'll see down to the left, we do get lots of visitors. There's another group of Canada geese along the shoreline. They're passing overhead on their way south down to Mexico. They'll spend the winter. We'll see them again in early spring as they start to head north to their summer grounds in Canada. Once they get their wings.
I wish it takes big bites.
Back to your right, we're going to have to strain our necks a little bit to see this animal. Look on the right-hand side of the vehicle, we'll straight up in front of us into the pine tree forest along the dusty hillside. And towards the top of the ridge, the end of the pine trees, you'll see a distant glimpse of black and white stripes. Now, you all know who that animal is. I don't need to identify it for you. And I do apologize that the zebra right now are maybe not feeling super photogenic. Well, that is the double-edged sword of the park. You've got the wide open spaces that allow the animals to be able to
Chew the banana.
It does also use sometimes. Luckily, though, I think the zebra may be a bit unusual because we've got great views coming up. Half a dozen different species of animals to both the left and the right-hand side. On the right, that's another North American animal, the peninsular pronghorn, species that comes from Baja California. Let's go ahead and let's scoot a little bit farther down the road here where we've got
Look at the giraffe right there.
three additional species of antelopes. And of course, who's that in the middle there? Like the zebra, that's an animal I think we can probably all identify on our own, but I'll say the word anyway. That is a giraffe. And I'm very happy right now that that truck is passing around behind it because giraffe scale can get a little out of whack out here. Now we are comparing the antelope hanging out here, the Hemsbok, big V-shaped horns. That's a South African desert antelope. Another South African animal a bit farther out with the black racing stripe and the white belly, Springbok. Of course, if you're a rugby fan, you didn't need me to tell you Springbok come from South Africa. And last but never least, right in the middle, a East African animal from the Savannah lands called a sable antelope. I will also see, by the way, a little herd of buffalo up on the hill. They're going to be behind the tree line from our point of view down here. But assuming they more or less stay put, we'll get a great view of them once we're up on the ridge. Now, if you're the world's biggest buffalo fan and you don't like taking chances, make sure you snap a photograph of them now, as I did include that important caveat, assuming they stay put. These are wild animals, they have free will and working legs. I can make educated guesses, but I don't make promises. Called the Somali wild ass, a desert animal
Look at the
in
donkeys.
Eastern Africa.
There's donkeys out there.
Total population of Somali wild ass in the world right now is under 300. A war that's been horrific and devastating for humans has been bad for animals too. We need to remember when we talk about conservation out here, when we talk about helping endangered animals, that conversation always necessarily has to start with human dignity and peace. Not just in Somalia, but everywhere around the world. We are all of us on this same rock together, spinning around the sun. The rhinos, the zebra, the humans. The more we fight, the more we reject, the more we push away, the greater danger we're all in. But if we can pull together and learn to love each other, we can still build a better world for our children than the one they're currently set to. They're not the biggest, they're not the strongest, they're not the fastest, but they are the most numerous, the most ubiquitous. They're found everywhere, giant numbers. The adults only smaller. The young buffalo will travel with the herd. And in case of danger, the adults will rally to their defense. An attack on one is seen as an attack on all. Buffalo herds are tight-knit communities led by their eldest matriarchs. The old giraffes on your left, we saw them from the distance earlier when we were down looking at the big bull in the valley. These are the cows. Much like the buffalo herds, giraffe herds will be primarily matriarchal. That is common with most of the large herding African mammals. Or even if you don't necessarily recognize them, they are called domestic cattle. Breed of cattle that are used primarily by traditional pastoral groups in Eastern Africa. Doing some hiding. If you look in between, there's two trees out there. One has green leaves, the other one has yellow leaves. One of them is a little bit more into the season than the other. The rhinos are right in between the middle of those two trees. They're doing their best boulder impressions. Basically, if you're looking at a rock and it has ears and a horn, that's probably rhino. They're incredibly powerful animals. And the most impressive part to me is that all of that is powered by grass. One of the least nutritious foods out there. Not a lot of caloric density to grass. Rhinos make it work because quantity is a quality all its own. You just rip up huge sways, bring them up and in more than 50 pounds of food per rhino per day. All of which is provided, of course, by our amazing animal care team out here. Superhuman group of effort. Working hard every single day. Make sure these animals live long, healthy, thriving lives. And it looks like I'm going to get a chance here to show you a couple of rhinos a little bit closer up than I had been. There's only one issue. They're hanging out in an area where I am unable to talk. So keep your eyes to the right. Look at the rhinos. Please take some photographs of them. Just be aware I'm going to be ditching you here. I'm not mad at you or anything. I'll be back on the horn in a couple minutes as we pull into the station. Make sure I give you instructions for safe disembarkation. But for now,
I see the air balloon. We see that, and then there's a
Air balloon.
There's a picture. Okay, look. Look, you want to sit in my... There's a big cow and a big giraffe. Those are good. Good. It is a rhino.
There's a back one.
yeah?
I like this one.
Okay, we're done. Yay!
All right, well, thank you again, everybody, so much for riding with us today. I'm going to drop you off at the station here once I bring the vehicle to a full and complete stop. After we have stopped, and not before, you may exit to the right-hand side only, which you'll notice is the side toward the station, not the side into the active road. Gates to get out will be up by the cab. My name is Owen. Find me up there too to answer questions. Hope you had a good time.